Ah, there you go. Is that other guy here, Tina, who said, remember the first day that was the best. I forget his words, but it was the most fun. It was so
What is
perfect.
this?
Yeah, when you did that, and he's like, what have I been missing? And
Andrew, and special shout out to Tina, by the way, because we had a partner that had just onboarded SaaS Alerts, or they just signed up, and he said, "Guys, I didn't get onboarded," and he was kind of, he was grumpy about it. And Tina says, "Look, you sound like you're just pouting over there. You need to look at Ben's videos. You need to come to the community call." She verbally onboarded this guy in like 10 minutes, and he walked away feeling great. So,
oh, that's
hats off to
awesome.
Tina. Yeah.
Good for you, Tina.
Tina, will you start doing some videos for us?
Yes.
I think you guys have enough content for me already.
It's awesome.
Yep.
It was so good to see everybody. And Tobin, thank you for coming as well. I see you out there. I really appreciate you coming again as well.
Yeah, it was great. I had no
Thanks.
problem with any peppers on any of my food, so I think we're good.
Nice.
All right. All right. Let me share out my screen. And Mike, I saw you too. Thank you for coming. Mike Elders.
Yes, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you, bud. Okay, okay, PowerPoint. Here we go. Since we don't have Jim, Leron told me there's nothing this week. Ben, you're going to help me out with that. Mike, that MFA momentarily. So we don't have anything from Ben. Bear with me. Okay, Chip, can I have you kick off wins of the week?
Well, so my personal win of the week is the team did get out the licensing feature where MSPs can choose their licensing types inside of the SaaS Alerts UI, and these are licensing types that pertain only to those who are also Kaseya customers, have billing with Kaseya and that sort of thing. It's there for anybody, by the way, who wants to track the kinds of licensing, maybe even for their own internal use. The reports team on our side has work underway in creating a report element for that as well. We needed to get that into the UI to accomplish some things to coordinate billing. I think you guys know that we've put a lot of effort since the announcement of Kaseya's acquisition and making sure that we get the billing stuff right. And this is part of that. So, that's the win. I mean, Ben and his team continue to catch, I follow their MSA channel as a silent lurker in Teams. And I see all the stuff that they're catching, and that's still like an ongoing win every week for me. But I haven't talked to anybody with specific rundown of a compromise. Hopefully we'll see a few pop into the call like we usually do. Hopefully it's not Enrique. He's had enough of those lately. Not that we don't like your input, Enrique, but I'm hoping that your clients settle down and start behaving themselves.
We've got a win.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike. Yeah.
So Dave and I were sitting on the plane on Saturday on the way back from Vegas, and I get this email from Managed SaaS Alerts. Oh boy. We had a user clicked on a link and had the Axiom user agent, and everything was stopped because the account got disabled. So I'd say that's a pretty good win.
That's
And
awesome.
that's a VP of a customer of ours. So it's no lightweight person.
Wow.
The risk was
So
high.
They got an email that said that their Q4 401k reports are now available in Paychecks.
Oh boy, yeah, that one.
Yep. So in the picture of the email, it's clear it's a scam, obviously, but they did their thing. Typical user, right?
Yep.
But Mike, you bring up a really good point for, I think, all of us here. Tobin, I see your hand. Come right to you. This time of year, right? Taxes, benefits, all of those things are right on everybody's mind, right? Tax returns, 1099s, very easy to fall into that trap, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So
Yeah, and it's a very well crafted email. I don't know what paycheck stuff looks like because we don't use it, but You know, everything, there's actually no typos in it and it looks fine, but the from email address is definitely, it was f-s-c.it. So
Hmm.
Mike, does the client use paychecks? Did that add to the credibility of the attack?
I'm embarrassed to say this, that I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that they do. So it's a
Well,
co-managed, so, you know, so
yeah.
I don't
I
have a
mean,
clear answer on it. So
it's a better answer if they do than if they don't, in
I,
the sense that, it seems more credible. But I'm always curious about that because I'm observing anecdotally through all the things I read that the hackers are continuing to get better at choosing the services that you actually use for these kinds of phishing campaigns. Like,
sure,
they're doing the background research. So I'm always interested to know if people actually use it. They could have gotten it from ADP, right? Like
right.
the attacker could have chosen any payroll service.
I'm fairly certain, I'm like 75% confident they do use paychecks, yes. So I know it's not the answer I should have, I understand, but what do you do?
Yep.
So anyway, so yeah,
Thanks for sharing
thank you.
that. That's great. Tobin, what you got?
So I woke up to a big win last week. There were several messages that came in at 3 a.m. Apparently, one of our users who was sleeping tried to log in from Ecuador and Argentina using fast HTTP, and it was shut down immediately by SaaS Alerts. So big thank you to SpearTip and SaaS Alerts for doing all that research and posting that response in Discord, because I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to do anything. We just activated the rule, and we had done research, and we had never seen fast HTTP before, but this was the first time I get hit, and thanks to you guys, I slept like a baby. I woke up
Nice.
at 6 a.m. and it had all been shut down. So for those of you who are new to SaaS Alerts, definitely live in the Discord channel here, because it'll save your life.
Great stuff, Tobin. Thank you for sharing. Sam, you put something in there about a false positive.
Yeah. So last week, I finally was able to sit down and follow Ben's YouTube video talking about, hey, here's how you get around Microsoft being annoying with how they report things. And I got it all set up, and it's like, okay, I got it set up, but until something comes along to trigger the respond rule, you don't know if it's set up right. But lucky for me, one of our customers used a VPN. He was having issues signing in. He said sometimes I use a VPN and then it'll, go through and let me do my sign in. So, his VPN had him somewhere in Europe that's outside their approved locations. It wasn't a file event. It didn't come from a Microsoft data center. So it escalated, and the respond rule threw it in our ticket system. So I got a false positive and also confirmation that the rules are working.
Great.
So a win's a win.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Sam, are you planning to refine that rule for that customer to whitelist or include the either block of IP addresses or that specific VPN IP?
No, he doesn't use the same location. He just uses it as a pick a different location for whenever he's just having some occasional issues with his login. So he just picks random places. He was very impressed that we had a system in place to detect it and then turn around and be like, hey, are you using a VPN right now, or are you getting attacked? So he's totally absolutely fine with how it's currently set up. He doesn't do it too often, but it's one of those, as it comes up, we check.
So it's a credibility win. That's what we call those. When your customer goes, well, it was really me being safe, but thank you for being there.
That's excellent. Hey, Corey, good to see you. You don't look like you're at home in Tennessee where you're at.
I haven't been home since Rider Boom. I left Rider Boom, went up to Utah. Beautiful, by the way. But then it's beautiful, but it's too high and too dry, if that makes
Are you
sense. So,
skiing?
no, work. And then now I'm here in Costa Mesa for another conference. So I've been gone from home for going on 2 weeks.
Okay. Any wins that you and or Zach have had since been on the road?
I feel so disconnected. I'm relying on my SOC team to my SOC manager to do the thing. I haven't heard of anything big. I'm still seeing far more of those adversary in the middle campaigns, leveraging Axios still popping up.
Got
I
it.
think those would slow down, but they haven't. So
Well, they're for companies that don't use you and SaaS alerts, they're working. So,
yeah,
you know, low hanging fruit.
we're seeing a reemergence in malicious Screen Connect sessions. So for anybody on here that does any monitoring, make sure you're monitoring for suspicious domains with Screen Connect sessions. .top domain has been a big one as of recently. So
Yeah, and just in general, right, Corey, maybe or blacklisting certain living off the land things that you shouldn't run in your environment, right?
all right.
Those are some big ones as well. Good. What else? Others? Taking a look here. All right. Oh, Chip. So last thing for you, how was your Utah experience? Or were you in Utah?
My Tahoe experience is coming up this week.
I thought
So-
it was when you were right at Boom.
No, it's just there's too much traveling there for me to do both.
Oh, okay. I thought you were away. Okay, Tahoe. Awesome and enjoy.
Yep, I leave Sunday morning at 7 a.m., which is kind of ridiculous to make that kind of a flight when you're an hour and a half away from the airport, but we'll do it. It'll be worth it.
Good.
The snow conditions are reporting outstanding and got a nice cheap lift rate because we jumped into March. You know, all of the stars are in alignment.
Nice.
I have to make sure that the SaaS Alerts world stays quiet while I'm out there. I'm counting on Ben to run cover for everything. Ben and Leron.
Oh, don't worry. They got it covered. And Leron's, I got some good new things he needs to develop. So we'll keep him busy while you're away, Chip. So
What are you taking Andy's place?
where is Andy? It was great seeing him and his team. Let's see, was able to Steven, you got a win there, Steven? Was able to.
Oh, yeah, we have a client that does some bulk emailing, has some large groups they need to coordinate, and we have the bulk email, the outbound sending thresholds in place, and they needed exclusions for that, and so being able to use the fortify actions to exclude the group admin so they can email freely, it was worked well. So yeah,
Good.
nice. Being able to customize those is a good thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Chip, I want you to do the Disney thing, but I want to show you something first that I got. This was literally last night. And I thought this was, so well crafted for a smishing, so obviously they knew it was me, that it's my phone. So obviously, some dark, probably on the dark web, database where my phone exists, my phone number exists and who I am. Someone got compromised, right? Where I have my data, where I have, name, email, whatever, phone. But really well done for, I thought, just a very straightforward, yeah, it's me, right? What a great way to engage the majority of people out there. So I wanted to share that one. It's
Well,
a new.
where's the rest of the thread, Andrew? We went.
Well, I didn't want to go into my AI photo stuff that we're going to go into momentarily, like the Disney guy.
Yeah.
No, but just sometimes simple, right, is effective. And I think a lot of people would fall for this.
Yeah.
No?
I think a lot of people do fall for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This you got to put this one in the kettle for when you and I start a podcast and we start responding to these.
I know we start. Yeah, exactly.
Because it's,
I just got a text message earlier asking me, "Are you working today?" And I'm like insulted. Who was that thinks I don't work?
all of us, Enrique, you're either on your way to or from your camper in the mountains to either go skiing or hiking. So we all wonder where you work.
I love engaging with these texts. I'm not supposed to, but I just love engaging with these
Do you,
texts.
do you, Corey?
I love it. I love seeing what works. I sometimes I go complete left field, like I've lost my mind, which I have, but don't get me wrong. But sometimes I try to like follow a script that I know they're trying to do. Just I want to see their playbook here.
Right. Where they're going with it.
Yeah.
Are some of them good at it?
Yes and no. Some I get offended because they stop talking to me, and I respond back, "I miss you. Please come back. Where's my surf and turf that you promised?" All this fun stuff. I feel you have to follow a certain script for them to move forward and give you because eventually, if you follow the right script, they will tell you, "Oh, sorry, it was a wrong number." But I feel like
you could do
people
like a
connect.
grandpa,
Yeah,
routine
well,
just to tie them up. Yeah.
but when you know that you've done the right script and that they're ready to try to hook you, is like, "Oh, I believe that people meet for a reason." That's what ends up getting you to the next step in the conversation of them trying to trick you into doing something. Right.
Right.
So
Corey, do you think that your participation increases or decreases, your target phone number?
increases, and I hope it does.
Yeah. I wish I had your kind of time.
I mean, you know,
You might have like 3 phones,
well, no, it's just I respond when I have an opportunity is the most politically correct way to say it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Look at your phone, 7, 8 o'clock at night, pick the best
Yeah.
ones, pour a glass of bourbon. Let's
That's
have
it.
fun.
Sometimes I tell them, "Hey, I responded. Feel free to add me to your list of people you try to scam." It depends on my mood of the day. So.
That's great.
That's awesome. All right, Chip. You sent this one very close to the beginning of the SaaS Alerts call, but this was pretty wow. Like, so maybe I could just set you up. My understanding is this Disney employee downloaded an AI tool for a photo AI tool. Probably did some things he shouldn't have at work, and then the threat actor really tied him up like a pretzel. Is that maybe giving you the lead into what happened?
Yeah, it's a lead in. There's definitely more context. So first off, I have to give a hat tip to our compliance officer, Keith, who threw this one across, across our chat. I don't know, 12:20 this afternoon. That's why I got it to you at about 12:40 because I read it and digested it. So what happened here is software developer that works for Disney downloads an AI tool off of GitHub that is a text to image. So you give it a text prompt and it creates an image for you. And this is, I think, this goes back many months. So like at this stage in the AI evolution, which is literally changing every single day, there's a bazillion tools out there that are text to image. But he wanted to play with something he could run locally on his machine, downloaded this project off of GitHub, built it, and there it is doing its thing. What he didn't realize, and I'm sure a bunch of you, if you haven't read this, your heads are already nodding, you know where this is going. The guy downloads a project off of GitHub, builds it on his local machine. It's got an info stealer package in it, and it gets his Disney credentials, his personal credentials, credit cards, like everything under the sun. Turned into a major kerfluffle for Disney because with his Disney credentials, went into Disney systems, exfiltrated mountains of customer data. He did the right thing immediately when he realized, because he got a message in Slack. Disney was formerly using Slack. I think they've dropped it at this point. That basically said, "Hey, dude, just to let you know, I've got all your information and blah, 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 blah." He responds to it, thought he was being scammed, realized he wasn't. And he immediately called the Disney fire desk. I think that's what they call it, their fire team. And they ran it down, did an investigation of his company provided device. They claim to have found some illicit material there. Of course, in the article, he vociferously claims that he did not do anything that he shouldn't be doing on his work device. I sent it to you, Andrew, with my comment that I'll share that it's a lesson, obviously, for all of us. Like if you're downloading anything and it's free, and is asking you to install it, compile it, build it on your system, you literally are playing Russian roulette, in my opinion. And the AI world now is rampant with this stuff. People setting out tutorials about how you can build this, that, and the other thing. Rogue punch cards, nice. The AI world is just completely filled with people providing tutorials on how to build local models on your machine, download GitHub projects, and so on and so forth. This double tied in for me with a different GitHub issue that popped up this morning, where there's a VS Code vulnerability that popped up in something called Material Theme. It's something that looks kind of like Material UI, which a lot of JavaScript programmers use. And it's just a theme that you can use in your own VS Code. But again, malware installed. Microsoft eventually became aware of this because some guys figured it out. Microsoft actually went out and pulled the material theme off of every instance of VS Code they could find. They banned the developer for anything future. I said to Liron, I kind of think we should have a policy that our developers aren't allowed to download anything from GitHub. Like certainly anything that's open, private GitHub repositories, it's a different story. There's obviously lots of legitimate work that gets done on GitHub. But this isn't any different than, floppy drives, thumb drives, and bulletin boards from the 1990s and early 2000s. Like if somebody is offering you software that is completely unvetted, you're absolutely out of your mind to download that and install it or build it if you're a developer. And it's just worth reiterating with all of our customers. We're right back to the future. Just don't do this. I think all of us as MSPs have trained our customers. Somebody walks into your office and gives you a USB stick with a bunch of documents on it. You don't put it in your computer. Same thing applies to anything in the AI or software development world, and it's just getting crazy out there again.
Yeah, really good point, Chip. Or if you are adventurous enough, quote unquote, to do it, Chip, then do it in some sandbox that's completely,
Doesn't have any personal information,
segmented. Yeah, and anticipate like Corey does, right? Hey, I'm probably downloading malware. I'm probably downloading info stealers, but I'm up to the challenge of what I'm downloading here. And then, but keep it on a system that is completely segmented and not attached to anything.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for researchers, it's essential that they do take those actions, but you've got to understand what you're doing. And again, for our customers, just a reminder for them, the old adage is true. If it's free, you're going to pay for it somehow.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, better way of saying air gap. Thank you. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Chip.
Absolutely.
And I guess that, we don't, the one thing we still don't know is what data was, because like you said, Chip, according to the article, a lot of data was exfilled. So Disney's hasn't still come out, like, hey, if I went to Disney, is my data potentially we don't know those things yet. It seems like.
No, we don't know all the details, although the article did state, well, yours is a slightly different article, so I don't know if the same as the Wall Street Journal one that I read, but it did state that Disney has acknowledged that, hundreds of thousands of records were stolen. So we don't know exactly what that is. Look, back to your point about your phone. I mean, honestly, I certainly believe that there's not a single human being walking around in North America, at least, that hasn't had their data stolen. I mean, there's been so many data breaches from so many, sources. You just got to assume that your data has been stolen and act accordingly with everything you do, that's connected to the internet.
Well, it's interesting. To your point, after Ben goes, there's a great I have Palo Alto's 2025 incident response report, Chip. And one of the data points is about data exfil and the fact that it's being out on, so much of data now is on the dark web, that it's actually losing its efficacy because threat actors that said, oh, Chip, if you pay me, I won't put it there. Or if you pay me, I'll remove it. And the threat actors aren't doing what they're saying they're going to do. So you're actually seeing a decrease in the efficacy of that as a motivator for people to work with the threat actor, which leads into what I'll show you as the third tier, or the third thing that threat actors are now doing, because that's starting to lose its efficacy as a motivator for payment.
Yeah. Look, it's a shoulder shrug, right? It's like, okay, you have my data. Like, duh, I didn't know that already. But I made this point several weeks ago that for the people on this call, for our community in general, we take so much of this for granted. And I know I personally forget to proselytize the message to customers. And I'm just encouraging the behavior that, even though we know all this stuff and it's second nature, and we behave in a way that's defensive. It's almost like defensive driving. When we do anything with technology, we're defensive about it. Our customers don't. Most of them
No.
don't. And we
No,
have
they
to
don't.
constantly be putting stories like this, and like your phone, your little text from before. You have to constantly be putting in front of them and keeping their awareness up, because it's still, humanity is the weakest link.
Yeah, very true. So Ben, can I ask you to, and I'll put the URL of this one in. This is one that I think Chip found right as we were taking the week off, on these device codes. And like I said, I'll put it in there, but if you kind of walk through this, I put a few screenshots here about how, but if you have something to show, I can do that too.
No, that's good. That's what I wanted to show, was that those text messages.
Okay, perfect.
So it's not a new technique, but it's still very effective. Starts out with, it could either be a text message or an email. It looks like this is just mostly SMS messages, basically telling somebody you need to sign in to do a survey or whatever. And for security reasons, you need to put in this device code. So if you've ever used something like you're signing into Netflix or something, or Amazon, a lot of the times it'll give you a code to punch into your app. That is a device code. And Microsoft has something very similar to allow you to exactly what Mike said. No. It's a big no, but a lot of people still have them enabled. It's a quick way for you to add a device to your account without having to do all of the authentication and MFA and everything on that specific device. But what this does is, the codes don't last forever, so they need you to move fast. And what they do is they send you to the URL where you can validate this code. You punch it in, it'll maybe ask you to re-authenticate, do your MFA. Once that is done, then that gives the attacker the refresh token, which they can then use to pretty much request any sort of access tokens that they may need. One's for your Outlook, one's for SharePoint, even ones for like some basic management of Azure, including user enumeration. There's a really cool program, speaking of random GitHub projects, that I took a look at not too long ago myself, called GraphSpy, and it will start up a website for you, generate those codes, and all you have to do is get the victim to enter those codes, and it will capture all that for you. It'll handle all of the requests for the new access tokens as well. And the refresh tokens, they have a little bit longer lifetime. I think I read the default is about 24 hours. So in that time, they can basically request any sort of tokens or any sort of access tokens that they need. But yeah, it's just as effective as Evil Jinx. And the scary part about it is they're going to a Microsoft website. So if you're telling them to check the URL, well, it is a Microsoft URL. So it seems to be, from the victim side, perfectly legitimate, other than some person telling them to enter codes. But yeah, it's not a new attack, but fortunately there is a fortify control that we do have that will disable device codes, especially if you have no reason to be using them, which you really shouldn't.
Yeah, Chip, if I remember, I have a video on this where Bo talks about this actually. This is like where, you know, like you said, Ben, the Netflix or whatever, you know, you're trying to, or, you know, you're authenticating something on TV, it gives you a code. It's a very similar playbook, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I did a
But
video
the
on
exact same
Grasp
flow.
too.
What's that, Chip?
It's the exact same flow.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I think you can put in, Ben, aside from SaaS alerts, can't you put in a conditional access policy to disable it and all?
Correct. Yeah, I think that's what ours does. And I know Bo talked about it at Ride a Boom as well as being one of the things to harden your M365 environment, which it's definitely a good thing, and everybody really should be doing it. It's such an easy thing to prevent.
Very true. Chip, anything that stood out about that article as you guys were going back and forth that week where we had this, you know, the week we were off, we were going back and forth a bit on it.
No, nothing new other than, you know, I would recommend if you're not hardening your 365 environment in this way, you know, there's really no reason that I can think of why a typical user shouldn't be needing to use this workflow in order to authenticate. So, you know, I would just lock it down. The Fortify controls make it super easy. I'm sure if he hasn't already, Ben will post screenshots in the Discord of exactly how that's done in Fortify. So, you know, we try to make this as easy as possible. Full disclaimer, just for anybody that's watching this video at some time in the future, Ben is a trained researcher who takes appropriate precautions. So, you know, when he downloads something from GitHub, we know it's okay.
Oh yeah, it's all of my work is done through virtual machines and private servers. So yeah, I don't ever download anything on my personal
Take
computer.
some risk, Ben. Come on, take some risk. Use your domain controller, baby. Come on.
I do gather up random USB drives and just throw them in there. So
Train like you fight, baby. Train like you fight. You know, do what the end users will do.
Corey, I think you've been away from home too long. You're fired up.
I have. Sorry. Don't mind me.
I have.
All right. Let me pop this up and let me send everybody the URL because this is some of these threat reports and IR reports are really, really well done. Unit 42 does a really good job. Corey, you probably are aware of them. They're, you know, obviously a top-notch IR firm. It's Palo Alto's group. And so, you know, this is like, you know, Palo and CrowdStrike they get obviously very big cases, you know, enterprise class type stuff. And they have good, kind of like SaaS alerts when they come out with their SASE report, they have you know, obviously such a good purview now into, you know, MSPs and our customers. But this gives us a good insight into what are the trends. You know, that's what's really things we've been talking about throughout the year, but now that, you know, they've amassed this data, I think it's kind of cool to see it. And that is, you know, in starting off, there's these three main trends. The last trend I'm not going to go into, it has to do with North Korea and insider threat and things like that. Not that it's not important, but I didn't think we'd have enough time, but I just wanted to kind of go through this. But the big first trend is, and I'll go into the details of this, but the first big trend is the movement into business disruption. This goes into, you know, what, in my belief and what we've been preaching, whether it's cyber call, Ride a Boom, and I think we have a bit on this show at times when we talk about business impact analysis, that we really need to have conversations with our customers, or, you know, as MSPs with your customers about, you know, the business disruption, not only to yourself, but what's the impact in the biggest customers you have, your contractual obligations, because it's in essence of what the threat actors are doing, Chip. It's like, as I'm going to show everybody momentarily with this slide, I'm going to jump to it. Just, well, let me go one by one. What's what's happened over time, right? The threat actors started with, as we know, encryption, right? As you know, phase one of how do we, get our money, right? It was encrypt everything with malware and pay us, right? Fair, Chip? That was phase one of really how threat actors worked, and it worked pretty good.
Pay me for the keys.
Yeah, right. We'll give you the keys if you pay us. Well, over time, we as an industry, right, have wised up. We were like, wow, if that's what they're doing, well, we better do segmentation, which of course all your clients do, of course, right, Ben? When you're an MSP, everybody does the network segmentation. Well, everybody does backup as well, right, Corey? But on the margin, right, we're understanding the world's starting to understand that, okay, we got to do a better job with our backups. Okay. So, and you can see that has happened, right? Well, okay. So what's next? Well, then, if people are doing backups, well, then, what the threat actors, right? We know about double extortion, right? So we'll encrypt you, but then we'll also take your data and we'll put it up on the dark web, and we'll threaten you about, leaking your data on the dark web and what's it going to mean to your business, your reputation, yada, yada, yada. And we know that's been a major thematic as well. Fast forward, this is the part, Chip, I was talking a little about, which is really interesting, that people have become numb, right? In that, not only should we anticipate our data's on the dark web, but where threat actors, when I talk to Chris Lair from Solace, who does a ton of ransomware negotiations and stuff, you have threat actors that actually, their reputation's important because if they don't do what they say they're going to do, word gets out amongst the defer organizations that, hey man, it's not even worth negotiating with these guys because they're not going to do what they say they're going to do. Let's not pay the ransom. And that's not a good thing for a threat actor group. Believe it or not, there's a hierarchy of morals amongst these criminals. Does that make sense, Chip, to a degree of what I'm trying to say there?
Yes, there are some that are choosing to be ethical after the fact to make sure they get their money, and they want to actually build a reputation that they're going to follow through. And the irony in that, it runs so many layers deep that, yeah. But yes, totally follow.
Right. There's an irony in it, but there is something to that. Well, what's happened with this now, this layer of, hey, we're going to exfiltrate your data, and if you pay us, we won't post it on the dark web, or we'll pull it off the dark web, or whatever, however they negotiated the ransomware payment. Well, those aren't following through as the data is starting to show. So here's where we are with a new layer of how the pain threshold goes. And I'm somebody that likes to look at, things around, Chip, you and I have talked about investments, and I think rate of change is a really important really important metric for us to look at, not just when you're investing money and looking at financials of a company. Like, is the rate of change in revenues accelerating, or profits accelerating or decelerating? Because that's going to tell you, right, how the company's going to do. But I think rate of change is really important to look at a statistic. And when you look at the statistic of harassment, and I'll explain what they mean by harassment, this is a pretty big jump, right, about what you're seeing. So you're seeing we're certainly doing lots of encryption. That's not going away. We're certainly doing tons of data exfiltration. That's not going away. But you're seeing almost doubling of harassment. And the term harassment here is interesting. Harassment is really about business disruption, about what's the maximum amount of embarrassment, a maximum amount of pain that we can cause in your supply chain, which is called out here. And I'd love to get your take either from Corey or you, Chip, on this. So what they're saying now is you're encrypted. We've got your data. Oh, and by the way, if those two things don't make you pay, we're going to force, because of the way we've we've infiltrated your systems. If you don't, we're going to force your biggest customers to have to disconnect out of your supply chains. We're going to, start to harass your biggest customers and suppliers. So that's the thematic of where things are headed, which ties right into how the conversation shouldn't be about technology and putting in controls. It's really about business impact analysis, right? Who makes the most, how do you make your most money? Who are your most, biggest contracts? What are your biggest customer relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So thoughts on that, Chip, of what's going on here in the trends?
Well, I mean, first off, it makes total sense that as hackers are finding their old tactics less effective, they're going to develop new ones. And the end goal is all about getting the business to spend money and forcing the business to spend money that they don't want to spend on managing operational stuff, to the point that they realize it's cheaper just to pay a little bit of a ransom. That's just a straight up business decision, and it's a cost benefit analysis. So it becomes, almost a more, what's the right term? It's a more business analysis approach than just straight up extortion. So I find it interesting. But what it's making me think of is, what's the next tactic going to be? Because this all feels like organized crime mafia to me, right? So the next tactic, I don't know when it'll be, 2026, 2027. It's going to be straight up protection rackets, like, Hook Nose Tony. Sorry for the Italian, slurs here, stereotypes coming straight out of The Godfather. But the guy walks in and he says, your delivery guy just got beat up outside. If you give me $5 a week, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Meanwhile, the guy did it. Like, I would almost expect that that's going to be next in the evolution of these tactics.
That's interesting. Have there, you wonder the physical, well, we have seen some physical damage, obviously, in the hospital arena, Chip. We have seen deaths, unfortunately, but you wonder, will it evolve right into physical harming of, as a next layer of this, right? We know there are physical pen tests, right? That is a thing in social engineering, physical coming on premise, stealing of things,
Yeah, but physical can take a couple different, like, I think what you're talking about, Andrew, is physical plant and physical facility security. How about it extends beyond that first, which is, okay, you've become aware that this hacking organization, is in your environment because we encrypted your data. Like, that's the red flag. So you know it. We're going to share it on the dark web. Well, the advice of my consultants tells me that it's out there anyway, so I don't care. I'm not going to pay you. All right. Well, since that's your attitude, you guys own 1,500 trucks and you do regional distribution for your water company. This is Nestle. Yeah, we're going to take all the systems that manage your logistics offline.
But
so that's a physical, blackmail. It's a physical extortion and a business interruption. And, now you have to, if you're a business unit manager, you're looking at this and saying, well, okay, it'll take me, if I pay them $50,000, I'm not going to have that problem. If I don't pay them $50,000, my business is going to be down and I can't distribute any water for 3 weeks while these systems get remediated, and the cost of that in lost sales is 10 million, and the cost to do the physical remediation is another 1.5 million. I think I'm going to pay the 50 grand.
But I think, no, it's fair you say that, but I think we're there today, Chip. I mean, that's really what Unit 42 is going into, is the maximizing business disruption. And I think, so there's some flavor of what you're saying, what they're already seeing, right? How do I absolutely obliterate your supply chain, or threaten to obliterate your supply chain and your customer, intersection of your customers to make you pay?
Yep. I'll give you another one. This is just a pure hypothetical, but we've all seen, I think 3 of the 5 big airlines have their systems completely go down in the past 12 months. Gate holds for, anywhere from an hour or 2 up to a full day. What's really going on behind that? I mean, we know that one of them was the CrowdStrike situation that impacted everybody, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of those are utterly unreported as to what was the cause, like what happened that took down the reservation and gate management system.
Right.
Is it, what's the probability that some of those at least have been effectively this?
Yeah, very true. Tina, you mentioned something. I didn't get a chance to read it, but seems relevant to this.
Yeah. Our city released a press release or whatever 2 days ago. They were severely impacted by a cyber event. So they were still on-prem. They're way behind the times. I think they were mid-migration to Office 365. So they still had an on-prem mail server even. And it sounds like they're not in a good way. So all services are down. They're pretty much texting each other because it was fully on-prem. We don't know the extent of it yet, but I'm glad I'm not their IT, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays
Maybe you
out.
will be in the future.
Yeah.
We're not taking new clients.
But it's interesting, Tina, you bring this up because Chip, you and I have talked about this. A moment ago, you talked about airlines. What's the scary part? Not trying to spread FUD, but when we think about critical infrastructure, and Corey could probably back this up if he's still with us. I see him on his picture's not there, but water, utilities, energy, rail, like these are some of the oldest systems in our country. Like some of the utilities, like I know some of the pen testers, it's like we'll go nameless, but they're was asked to do a pen test in Manhattan, Chip, to one of the utilities, and they're like petrified, right, that they're going to take down the entire system because of how old the SCADA infrastructure is.
Yep.
That's a pretty frightening thing to think about.
We didn't talk about this beforehand, but just last night, my wife and I started watching a Netflix series called 0 Day. This is the plot. Like I don't know if anyone else has picked up on it. Obviously, I saw the title and I'm like, I got to watch this. It's, with the title like 0 Day, of course I'm going to watch it. And you literally just laid out the plot, like an attack on SCADA systems, traffic light control, railway, subway, all of it. Like you just laid out the plot of SCADA of 0 Day.
Yeah.
So if you have Netflix, go enjoy it.
Yeah. Corey made a comment to you, Tina, like who would have ever thought an on-prem exchange server compromise? Well, who would ever have suspected that? Okay. What do we have here? I just want to check if this was relevant.
Wow, that's an interesting stat. Medium ransom payment has gone from 30 grand to 267,500. How random is that?
That's a lot.
Yeah, but 267,500? It's kind of ironic.
Yeah. Okay, then so that was trend 1. Trend 2, this is all about, in essence, SaaS alerts, Chip. That it says a little or the way the way it reads is it's not that bad, a little less than a third. The way it should read is 1 in 3.
Right.
1 in 3 is going to be cloud attack. That's how it and furthermore, out of the 1 in 3, as we've been talking about, it's all about identity, Chip. That the way in which so 1 in 3 incidences that Unit 42 is dealing with start in the cloud, and they are identity based, and then they go into the types of the ways in which the threat actors are leveraging the identity. Interestingly, and we've talked a little bit about this, we're finally starting to see some improvement in MFA. That people are starting to take it more seriously. And I think MSPs on the margin are getting more client. I think hopefully we'll see that in the SASE report this year, Chip. I know that'll be coming out probably pretty soon, right?
Yeah. In fact, I just had a call with the writers, if you will. There's a team of folks that take the data we give them and assemble it into something that looks pretty, which I am utterly incapable of doing. So just had a call with them this morning, so that is well underway. Look, I'm thrilled to see that. I think we have talked about it, that we would expect that to come down with all the focus on it. I think Microsoft, as much as at least I like to bash them, deserves some credit here for basically, a couple of years ago now, taking the stance that any new 365 tenants are going to get created with MFA automatically enabled, and it's required. So there are definitely improvements from the tech sector itself that I think help that. But Andrew, you get some credit between this call and the cyber call and Right a Boom. You have a lot of outreach, so you help get the message out there.
We're trying, but this is Chip. If you would look at what kind of again, what is in our control is MS. I shouldn't say what's in our control, but the things that you're sitting there going as and this is when you talk to any of the incident response folks, like a John Strand in IR, when he, that side of his business, again, we've talked about this, look, weak password, like we know that I think the data is like, 99% plus of all attacks that are attacking are password related. That's right. So we know like that is the bread and butter. So, I mean, the fact that we still have weak and no passwords, and then this is some of the stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, Chip, and forgive me I'll mess up the product, but I'll let you say it, where basically we can look at M365 as that, oh God, what's the product that you guys?
You're talking about Bo's Graph Explorer?
No, your product that looks at M365.
Oh, Fortify.
Fortify,
On the
yeah.
policy side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where, again, we should obviously be making sure we're using that in our security assessments.
I'd be interested in teasing that weak default passwords out and seeing how much of that is actually devices, firewall switches, routers, that kind of stuff. That we continue to read that there are attacks that should never happen because people just don't change the default stuff.
Of course, VPNs.
Yep.
This goes into a little bit, what we've also talked about on this program for many times, Chip, which is, lack of visibility. This is something you're giving, obviously, folks, to M3, to SaaS platforms, but by on the margin, this is one of the biggest challenges, is being blind to your SaaS applications, because again, we know that anybody really can stand up a SaaS application in an organization. And so what are the controls and policies and governance that you have or your customers have to do or not do that? And then obviously, Corey, we've talked endlessly about VPN attacks, and that's been the du jour bread and butter of threat actors this past year, very much so. And then rounding things out, the final thing to talk about today is the trends. The third trend, and that is the speed of the attacks is just, vastly increasing. Here's the stats that they give that, it takes about several days, the average was 2 days, but they go on to say it's really what they're saying is really not 2 days, because by the time an organization figures it out, that's the reporting time, Chip. But probably the more the reality, what they're starting to see is these two stats, which is, 25% of the cases, less than 5 hours. That's moving especially when you're moving, terabytes of data out of an organization. And then, this one here, 19%. So 1 in 5, they're moving it in less than an hour. So, so respond rules being important, huh, Chip?
Yeah, very important. And look, I know I've observed in our data in partners that don't use Respond Certainly don't use MFA. You know, they just basically they're doing the basics, sort of the SaaS Alerts basics from when we launched, 4 years ago. I've observed situations where we see that a compromise has occurred and data exfiltration is going on in minutes. It's not hours. It's almost immediate. Like, we've talked a lot, Andrew, about the ecosystem of the hacker world, right? You got the guy whose job it is to do that attacker in the middle, get the account, pass the token over to somebody else. And that guy has a new script. And part of his script is I'm going straight to SharePoint or Google Drive, and I'm grabbing as much as I can. And, I'm going straight into the mailbox and I'm looking for the active players. Like, it's a formula now. It's not like you have a random guy who just jumps up and down and goes, oh, wow, look at that. I got an account. What do I do next? Like, they know what to do. There's not a lot of time to waste.
Yeah, no, it's definitely assembly line, and they are well automated, and I think that's what even Corey just put in there. But it is organized crime, Ben, and they're as Gary Pico says, they run their businesses very well. He's like, we wish all the MSPs ran our businesses as well as they run their businesses, from a process perspective. So anyway, that's a wrap for this week, Chip.
Good call.
Yeah.
Ready again?
Awesome seeing everybody. Great seeing you all in person as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Chip, have a great time skiing.
Enjoy your skiing.
I will. Corey, get home, buddy.
Yeah. Get home, Corey. See you guys.
Later.
See you, everybody.
Thanks.